God bless you, my brothers and sisters. God bless you. And let me just say, welcome, welcome, welcome for these few moments that we will share. And tonight, most certainly, it's going to be a moment in the Word. So just a quick moment. I know we have different competing entities that are coming our way tonight, which premiere so many other shows that we watch. And that, notice what I said, we watch. So let me just move as expeditiously as possible and remind you to say that we are praying for you. We are keeping you lifted in prayer. If there is a need in your life, if there's a need to know the plan of salvation for your life, if there's a need to know, God's plan that He has for your life. If there's a need for prayer, if there's a need for Enon support, or if you like to connect with the ministry, to join the church, you can do that by texting the keyword Enon, join Enon, 54244, 54244, join Enon. You could also do that with texting in the keyword Enon support to receive COVID-19 help during this pandemic season if you are in need. Also, if you're in need of prayer, again, in need of salvation, need to know the plan that God has for your life. If you really want to understand the dynamics of what it is that God has a plan for, you can connect with us by any means of touching 54244. So let me say welcome to you again. And let me also say that tonight is somewhat of a challenge. I want to lay a challenge before you. Often you've heard me say, and I'll say it again and again and again, that if you have not been challenged, you have not been pastored. And so I want to just drop a first fresh word on you tonight to just make you think about it and to put something in your mind. And we will only share just a few moments, as this is a moment in the Word. I want you to just get yourself positioned at Hebrews chapter number 11, verse number 8. Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 8. And look at what it says. And I'm reading the New International Version of the Hebrew context of the Bible. It may differ from the one you hold, but in conglomeration it means the same. Listen to what it says. By faith, look at that, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as an inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. He went even though he did not know where he was going. Ladies and gentlemen, I think about that because there are times that God sends us on a course of life, and we don't know which way to go. We're at intersections of life, and we don't know what to do. We don't know whether to go left or whether to go right. But I think that sometimes we like for God to just go ahead in the beginning as if we are building a house, to give us the blueprint, to give us the whole schematic scales along with the preliminaries, to tell us what is actually going to happen. We want to know who we're going to marry. We want to know how long we'll be together. We want to know what our profession will be, how many children we will have, how many grandchildren. But God leads us, listen to me closely, He leads us one step at a time. I like that God leads me one step at a time, because if God gave me all of what I needed in the accoutrements of life and gave me every line, logic, and detail, perhaps I might mess that up somehow, because I'm not the one who's to be in charge of every detail and every step of my own individual life without God guiding, directing, and leading me. So here's what I want you to understand, that many times God leads us one step at a time. I'm just trying to press that point to you. But here's the thing, we need to make sure that we take that step before we receive, and He will reveal the next step. Take the first step. That's what the old saints were talking about when they said, if you make one step, He will make two. A world changer by the name of Abraham came on the scene. He was called by God, and he leaves his home, his homeland. He leaves his relatives, and he leaves to go to a place unknown. And let me just say, many times when I talk about this text, I often say that He tells him to get away from your kinfolk. And that perhaps might not be so difficult for some of us at some relative time, that we might want to get away from some of our kinfolk. go. But he tells him to go without a compass, without a navigational map. He tells him to go to destination unknown. And so Abraham, during the time and the culture of this particular setting of Hebrews chapter 11, his family really worshiped false gods. And he probably was a idol worshiper at some juncture in his life too. But ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to understand that despite this, God handpicked Abraham. He handpicked Abraham. He picked him out by hand. And many times when God picked us out by hand, we may feel like we've been picked out to be picked on. But in this situation, in the New Living Transliteration of Genesis chapter number 12, verse 1, look at what it says. God came to him and said, he said, leave your native country. He said, leave your relatives, your family, your friends. He said, and go to a land that I'm going to show you and tell you of. God did not tell Abraham, watch this, where the land was. He did not tell him where the land was. He did not tell him where he was going. He did not tell him what the land was. He did not tell him what he would find when he got to the land. He didn't even tell Abraham where him and his wife Sarah would live and lodge for any distant part of time. So, but God, Abraham, he listened to God. Watch that. He listened to God, packed up his bags, and left no forwarding permanent address. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, he was headed toward a heavenly destination. He knew that somehow, some way, if he obeyed the voice of God, that it was going to take him to a place that he needed most. And so the Bible tells us that it was by faith, watch that, by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He decided to go, he packed up, he obeyed God, and went into a land that eventually God would give him as a place of inheritance. Let me just tell you, when you make that one step before God reveals the next step, you are setting yourself up to be the recipient of a heavenly inheritance. And so he went, and without knowing where he was going. Hebrews chapter number 11, verse number 8 tells us that Abraham had an eternal perspective, and he changed his world. He had an eternal perspective, and he changed his world. What I'm trying to get you to see is that every now and then we need to make sure that our perspective is eternal. Make sure your perspective is eternal. And he had this eternal perspective, knowing that God was not going to lead him into a roadblock, that God was not going to lead him. He had faith when he couldn't find him. He had trust when he couldn't trace him. And so we need people who will change their world today. And so most certainly when we look at the United States of America, America so desperately needs God. America desperately needs to hear the gospel. And so, but for a moment, I want you to just think about this before we close, because I told you there's going to be a moment in the word. Let me just say, let's just talk for a minute about the world, your sphere, and your influence, where you can make an impact like Abraham did. Where you can make an impact like Abraham did. Do you want to change your world? Do you want to change your world? Or do you just want to talk about change? Are you interested in seeing change? Here's the thing. Start by changing your world. If you want to see the world change, start by changing your world. This is my challenge tonight. What is it that you can change within? What is it that you can change without? What is it that you can change about your walk? What is it that you can change about your witness? And here's what I want you to know. At the end of the day, and this is what I'm talking about tonight, and this is the idea that I want you to capture in your mental capacity as I move with this moment in the word. Here it is. This is a change of address for progress. A change of address for progress. That's really what Abraham did. He left no forwarding information, no forwarding address. He wasn't interested in what he could gain from where he was leaving. He was more interested in what he could gain from where he was going. And here's what I want you to know. I don't care who it is. At our best, there's always room for better. So what is it that you can change about your walk? What is it that you can change about your witness? What is it that you can change from without? And what is it that you can change from within? Think about that today. And as you think about that, pray over that and ask God, what direction would you have me to go? I'm following you without telling you where I want to go. You tell me, because I know there are some things that you want me to eradicate and abdicate myself from. So guess what? Here's what you need to develop in your mentality. Have an Abraham spirit. What is it that you can gather and put in your eternal perspective that you want to change so that you can have a change of address for progress? Listen, go in peace tonight. Enjoy your evening. I believe that God is going to bless that word tonight. And remember, every change starts with you.